Hi, welcome to my humble homestead and garden side chat. So today I want to get a few things done before work. So I want to make some sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is definitely one of those things that has lots of probiotics. It's great for that gut health. I know every time I say sauerkraut, Mom goes, ew. But the funny thing is homemade sauerkraut. I never was a fan of sauerkraut either, but homemade sauerkraut, it is honestly so much better than store bought. It doesn't have that real tangy, like soury taste. You can ferment it as long as you want. And I have a couple little secrets that I add to it that it's actually really good. And we just need a couple tablespoons of fermented food every day to help heal that gut health. And if you have great gut health, it helps maintain that. It's great for the digestive system. So I'm going to go ahead and go over how a real easy, simple way to make homemade sauerkraut. Now I got a couple heads of cabbage from Misfits. So I have organic cabbage. If it's not in your budget, I don't want you to not make it because it's not, organic cabbage is not in your budget. So if you do get regular cabbage, just go ahead and shed those first couple layers off and discard those. And then you want to take the next real large couple layers off and put those aside. If it's organic, you could just take the first top and lay those aside. We're going to save those for later. Then just go right ahead and slice it right down the middle of the cabbage. I'm using a small paring knife. I should probably have a large one, but I'm personally using my mandolin, so I didn't bring out my big chopping knife. So just cut it down the middle here. And then to get the core out, just go ahead and make a triangle. I'm actually going to make another slice because I have a small knife here. But if you have a large knife, just cut it down the middle and then just make a triangle and cut the core out, and then set the core aside too, because the core actually has some great benefits, probiotic too. So we're gonna grind that. So set that aside. We're gonna grind that up also, and save that. So I'm going to, I set these up so you could see in the camera. So I'm gonna move this back aside. So I'm going to be dehydrating some celery and onions later too. But so for me, now if you don't have, I should have kept that there a little. If you don't have a mandolin you can just take your knife and you could just make just go ahead and slice it like this. Make some and just continue to slice it like this. So you have some nice thin slices like you're making, regular cabbage. You can just use a knife and just continue to go through that all the way. I have a mandolin, so what I do is I just take chunks. Oops, I have my little piece in there. I take chunks here, I throw it in there. I actually take bigger ones because I like to get it done fast. I take big chunks like this, shove it in there, and then I just and then when this is done, so how I do it now, different people do it different ways. This is just my little way I do it because I don't have a what do you call it, a sauerkraut pounder. Some people have those sauerkraut pounders. I might look at and see how much they are because this is something I might start making a lot. You can also use like a big wooden spoon. So they put the sauerkraut into a big bowl. Then we're going to use some sea salt. I use the pink Himalayan sea salt, but you can just use like some coarse, you want the coarse ground sea salt. You're going to just take, so what I do is I put mine into a Ziploc bag. You can also put it into a big bowl, like a glass bowl or a you know, any kind of wood bowl or a stainless steel bowl, then you just take 2 teaspoons of coarse sea salt. That's going to draw the juice, all that great juice out of the, sorry, let me wash my hands real quick. We definitely want clean hands for this. So it's going to draw the juice out of the cabbage. So what I do is I put it in a Ziploc, I seal it up, I push the air out, and then I take a rolling pin and I just roll it. And then I just flip it over and I roll it. So I do this for, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes until that juice starts coming out of there nice and starts getting that. I mean, you can already see the juice. I did it for a couple of minutes. It's coming out. So I just keep rolling it. Now, if you do it in a bowl, you can, if you don't have a pounder, some people use like, if you have like a metal ladle, you can just mash it. I mean, that's the big thing is if you don't want to do a Ziploc, if you don't, some people don't buy plastic, you can do it in any kind, but you just mash it in the bowl for a few minutes. Basically, you just want the juices to come out. So that is what you really want. So this one I've kind of worked over for about, I'd say about 3 minutes. And then this is a gallon jar because I'm doing 2 heads of cabbage. Some people also use like a quart jar and they might just really pack it in there. I mean, we're going to really pack it in there to get most of the juices out too. But nice job, Trina. But I like to have extra room in there for it to like bubble up and stuff. This is probably not going to work too well. Big thing is make sure your hands are really clean if you're using your hands like I am, because we don't want any of the bad bacteria going in there. So that's good. Or, you know, sometimes I use gloves when I cook too. But I think I'm not going to use this. I think I'm just going to pour it in here like this. Hold the end shut. There, that works. I am not a clean cook, by the way. Never, by any means. So I'll use this for the other one. But then you're just going to take your spoon and you're really going to mash it in there. And then what I do, just for a little extra prebiotic, some people put whey in theirs, but I am not a fan of that. I like to do it a natural way. So I found a little tip that I actually really like. And so one thing is to take an apple. So an apple, not only does it add the sweetness, but and I'm just going to keep mashing this while I'm talking, but it also adds that extra little prebiotic that draws that out of it. The cabbage does too, but this gives us like a little bit of extra, just some extra assurance that we're going to, you know, have all the probiotics that we need. So the biggest thing is that we want to make sure that we have juice, that juice coming from the cabbage. So, you know, you can use the rolling pin, or you can mash, but the salt is what helps. So I'm going to do that. And what I didn't have an apple, so I took some of my apple chips and I have them rehydrating in distilled water. Now, you don't want to use chlorinated water, the water from your sink. If you have a water purifier, if you have distilled water, if you don't, I'm trying to keep this very economical for everybody to make, because gut health is something we're really wanting to work on. So if not, just take your sink water. If it's chlorinated and that's what you use, that's fine. Just boil it and then let it sit to room temperature. That will get all the chlorine out of it. Also, what I do for my plants is I fill up lots of like little things that I recycle, like little containers I recycle, and I let them sit out on the counter all day because it pulls out a lot of the chlorine. So if I don't have rainwater or things like that, that's what I do for my plants, because then you're not using so much chlorine. So even if you don't have time to do that and you just at least let it sit out, that pulls out a lot of that chlorine too. But yeah, we want it to be as good for our digestive system as we can. So this is what I'm doing, and then I also am going to put the core in here and blend it up with water, because that core has that extra prebiotics in there too, and we'll just really get that going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on the rest of this, get this all nice and chopped up with my mandolin, and then I'm going to get it nice and juiced up, and then I'll come back and we'll put it together, and I'll show you how I put it aside to ferment and make it into sauerkraut. So thanks, we'll be right back. I am back here and I got a few things done. So I'm gonna go over, let's finish this sauerkraut here. So if you look in here, this is literally just the cabbage with the salt, and you can see how much juice just the cabbage gets here from the salt. So we can just pack it in there, pack it down. I have a little cloth here that I'm gonna kind of wipe the rim off because I did kind of make a mess there. And then what I'm gonna do is I blended up the apples with just some distilled water here, and that core, the core is in here because that also helps with the probiotics. And I'm gonna just pour that in here, and I am going to kind of mix it around. So it adds a little tiny bit of sweetness in there, but it also does help bring out some more of that probiotic in there. And then what we want to do after that's kind of mixed in, so the biggest thing is we want to have this all under liquid. So we got a lot of liquid from just the cabbage, but we are going to add a little bit of the distilled water because we want to make sure it's all covered in liquid. That's quite a bit there, but we're going to add a little bit more of the distilled here. So I'm just going to add some more distilled water to make sure it's all covered. We'll let that sink in, push it down. There we go, that's so good. And the cabbage will also juice some more, so I think that will be good. Then what I'm gonna do, and like I said, I washed my hands several times. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead, you can, if you need to fold it, whatever, if you have a quart jar, if you don't have a gallon size, you have a half-gallon quart jar, if you want to use 2 quart jars, whatever works for you, just go ahead and cover the rest of it with these leaves. But when you do that, you want everything under the water. So you want to make sure you dunk it underneath the liquid. So I just put them all in there, and then I push it down underneath. Then what I do, I know not everybody has these big jars or you're going to make that much, but if you have like a half of a gallon jar or a quart. So what I did get these, I have these weights here. So I did get these weights for fermenting. But if you don't have them, you can just take like those little jelly jars and stick them in there. You know, we want this to be economical for everybody. And I'm just putting a couple of these in here because I want to keep that under the liquid there. So, and then I always wipe off the edge of the jar. Now, gosh, that looks so good. Now, that's it for that. Now I'm going to take the lid. So I'm not going to use one of my fermenting lids here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on finger tight, and then every day I'm just going to burp it a little bit. I'm just going to let because all the bubbles are going to rise. You can already see them. So I'm going to just burp it a little bit. Put it back on. I'm not just just real loosely, and I'm going to just put it in a darker side of my kitchen, probably over by the stove. I'm going to leave it there probably I leave it usually 7 to 10 days. I don't like it super, super like sour. So I leave it about 7 to 10 days, and then I put it in the fridge. Now, it does kind of continue to ferment in the fridge, just super slow. But this is good, like a good 6 months in the fridge. So a good 2 tablespoons is really all you need. But it's a great side dish. I honestly eat probably a half a cup of it. We like it with brats, or you can have it with steak. You can have it with pretty much anything. But you can ferment those green beans or whatever. But this is just something to have as a staple. So I'm gonna put that aside, and then you can just taste it too. Like after about 7 days, taste it and see how you like it. If it's perfect for you, put it in the fridge. If you want it to go a little more, just leave it a little more. I'll probably put it on a plate. I'll probably get a clean one. Put it on a plate just in case it does bubble over a little bit. That's what I do. Now, because I am dehydrating some onions and celery that I had gotten from Misfits as well, because I do use the celery powder, and I like to use, celery and things when I make soups, and onions and things like that. And yeah, I'm going to try to grow some this year, but I did get some extra ones. They were on sale, so I did get some. And I'm going to dehydrate the ones that I got extra because, in the winter, if I'm running low, or if they get, I know prices are going to go up. So I try to buy whatever I can organic when it's on sale. And we eat fresh when we can, but I'll just have some dehydrated for if I need it for, dishes or whatever when I make the meals in jars. So, but what I wanted to show you with this is when I chop up, if you do buy some organic stuff, a way to save money. Here's this. So I use the same bag that I squished all the cabbage in because I wanted to recycle it. I didn't even wash it out because I'm just going to throw stuff in here, scraps in here, and put it in the freezer. So when I make my bone broth, you guys, I literally just use like scraps of vegetables. So when I was chopping up the onions, like I'll just take the ends, the skins, things like that. So I'll just throw them in the baggie. When I'm chopping them up, I just throw them in a baggie. These are my onion bits, the things that I'm not going to use. And I'll just keep a baggie in the freezer of stuff for my bone broth. And that way you don't have to waste things, number one. And we're not eating them. We're just using them to flavor our bone broth. So you can wrap them in a cheesecloth. That's usually what I do. Or, do something like that. Now, celery. I know some people actually dehydrate the leaves of the celery. I don't. If you do and it works, let me know, because I never have. So I take like these ends and stuff, same thing. I throw everything all in the bag. And as I make my bone broth, I just take out what I need. I'll chop ends of carrots and things like that. Now this, with the end of the celery, there's a couple things you can do with it. I started some celery seedlings, so I haven't done this, but you can take this, chop it off, use it for your bone broth, or you can literally dig in your garden, or if you have a pot in the house, and plant it. This will grow celery. Not kidding. The lady at the little store in Arthur told me her husband does this every year. That's how he grows a celery. So try it out. Let me know if it works for you. So those are some tips on that. All right, so that is my tips for the day. This is a sauerkraut. I never like sauerkraut, I'm telling you, but this I like. I really do. So try it out. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. If you like the videos that I'm doing, then please like and share. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and be blessed. Bye.